Well, hello and welcome to Supernatural Spirit Magic School. Today we're going to talk about how to defeat aging. It's a brand new series being launched by Tim Tony Stark Rifat on the science of de-aging. So we're going to go through that process and share it with you. Now, my name's St. Nicholas. I'm a good friend of Tim Tony Stark Rifat. I've known him for years, and when we're down on the beach having a cup of tea, chatting away, we chat about many things, but aging throughout the years always comes up in conversation. So it's not a new subject. Tim has been fascinated by understanding the de-aging process for a very, very long time. And now the time is right for Tim Tony Stark Rifat to share this technology with us. So it's with great pleasure that we'll be going through this. And why is it part of the Supernatural Spirit Magic School? Well, because when you're looking for your true self, your holy guardian angel, the true source, true self you, the key component is to be healthy and de-age. So that's the wonder of this service. So the actual service, we'll plug this right now, the actual service is called the Psychic Warfare Defeat Aging Service, and you'll find that on psychicwarfare.com at the top. And with that service you get 2 crystals, a clear one and a dark one. But now we're going to go into the introduction. So here we go. So the Psychic Warfare Defeat Aging video series by Tim Tony Stark Rifat. Hi there. So what we're doing now is we're continuing the 15 videos done by Gridkeeper and their new approaches to healing. So we're looking into the psychic warfare research, which has been used not to make people ill, but we're going to use psychic warfare to heal ourselves and make ourselves sane and increase our lifespan. And to do this, you have to go through methodologies, and you have to start your methodologies somewhere. So we're going to start with the healing of our bodies, and look what's happening inside our bodies. So you have a cell membrane, and on the cell membrane you have lots of little protein receptors. So if we take our cell, put these here, if we take our cell, this represents a cell. The outer coating is cell membranes, and these are receptors. Then you have that protein layer on the outside, then you have a protein layer on the inside, and then you have one in the middle. And we'll explain how these protein layers interact. But you can visualize a cell in your body using, for example, this crystal orb. So you have a cell membrane, and on the cell membrane you have lots of little protein receptors, which are embedded in the phosphoroid membrane. So you've got the phosphoroid membrane, the outside bit. The outside is hydrophobic, which means it likes water, and the inside is hydrophobic, which means it doesn't like water. And then you have another phosphoroid membrane on the other side, the inside being hydrophilic and the opposite side being hydrophobic. And there's a lipid layer in between, so think of it as a 3-layered membrane which stops things getting in, and the phospholipids are held together, so they're able to move around. They're given rigidity by cholesterol, which stops them getting runny when you get very, very hot, or getting too solid when you get very, very cold. So the thing about cholesterol being bad for you is flawed, as it is an intrinsic part of the cell membrane. Now you get signals, which can be chemical signals, and biologists and chemists call them ligands, which bind the cell receptor, and once they bind the cell receptor, they cause conformation changes in the protein, which are then transmitted to other proteins, which causes channels in the membrane, which can then be thought of as a semiconducting membrane, only letting in certain things. So little things like nitrous oxide can get through, and there's a whole mechanism to let things through, and there's pumps inside the cell. And the whole point of psychic warfare is that if you can influence the receptors to change, then there's an amplification system called signal transduction, which then amplifies it up to 1 billion-fold. So minute applications of the ability to change the receptors, conformation proteins, fold, and it's very difficult for a computer program to work out how the folding is done. So if you look at this, the outside is full of these receptors. If you can use psychic warfare to switch on and off the receptors, then you are able to heal yourself, because you can do all the beneficial changes to your cell. So, why it's difficult for computer programs to model the protein folding, because it's quantum mechanical. And we can only do it for hydrogen atoms, just because the computational power required to do this modeling is enormous. So just changing a few receptors on the cell surface can have dramatic effects because of signal transduction, causing the receptors to change, which normally happens when a ligand locks in with it and gets other proteins and enzymes on the back end inside the cell to open up other proteins, to open channels, to let things in and set up a cascade phenomena normally powered by ATP and enzyme phosphates, which then cause things to travel down the nuclear membrane to read DNA or to not read DNA, which is epigenetic functioning. This is a very complex phenomena, and as the cell membrane, which has loads and loads of receptors on the outside, and all of these can be influenced by minute signals from someone who can broadcast psychic warfare ray fields. So one can see the technology on the other, so one can see if one can use this technology on other people to make them ill, old, or kill them, which is research from the Russians and from the Americans. One can also use it to make yourself younger, fitter, healthier, and block out stressors, because remember, we are being bombarded by chemicals, electromagnetic radiation, 5G, 4G, power lines, poisons and vaccines, and air pollution. So we're having all these bad influences into our body, which you can correct through utilizing the power of your mind to change those receptors and turn them into accepting good things and stop broadcasting bad things. So all this is activating, all this pollution and toxins and 5G and 4G is activating protein receptors on the surface, which make you ill. So the number of people getting cancer in the 1970s was 1 in 10, and now it's 1 in 2. So all that from the receptors on the outside of your cell being activated by toxins and 5G, 4G waves. And this is what epigenesis is. So epigenesis is simply the DNA, which is the blueprint being read, and epigenesis decides which part of the blueprint is read and which part of the blueprint is blocked. And what decides which part of the blueprint is being read depends on the signals which are hitting the membrane. So when you begin, you have to look at the methodologies. So you have to look at methodologies that influence cells in order to use psychic warfare to make yourself younger, fitter, and healthier. Now, while you're young, it doesn't seem to be a problem. But the older you get, the problem becomes more and more radical, because disease is far more prevalent the older you become. So one can see that the main problem of humanity is a disease called aging. Now, there is a disease called aging is there a disease called aging in the blueprint? Which is there a death code in the blueprints that say you must age? That say you must die at the age of 70 and that you're going to die or be in horrible health, even if you live beyond 70. The years beyond 70 are typically riddled with terrible health problems. And that's modern research. Or is there something which interferes with the reading of the blueprint? So the older you are, when the blueprint is read more and more incorrectly. Now, biologists have worked out that DNA replication, which happens at mitosis when cells divide, has that the replication errors in DNA are approximately 1 in 500 million. So you can see there is very little genetic degradation. So you need to make 500 million photocopies before the 500 million copy would have a significant degradation. But unfortunately, DNA is not the story. DNA is wrapped around with a protein so that in your chromosomes, so in the nuclei, there are DNA 50% and 50% is protein. And the protein unravels to allow replication and condenses to stop the reading and replication. And this process is something that is passed on from your mother and your grandmother to you using epigenetic tags. And they control the reading of the blueprint. So it's rather like having a blueprint. You are seeing only certain parts of the printout through bits cut out which change. So when the blueprint's being read, you're seeing sections here, tiny sections, and then the next time the blueprint's being read, you're reading tiny sections over here. So where's the consistency? So instead of reading the whole blueprint, you could only read tiny fractions of it. And all these fractions change depending on the signals on the cell's surface. And this is only about 1 in 50 or less without degradation. Without an error, so it's pretty obvious that aging has a significant problem, not with DNA, but with epigenetics. The reading of the DNA, the whole epigenetic genome, and biologists call what you look like the phenotype, and your DNA the genotype. And the phenotype differs from the genotype because the epigenetic tags and the epigenetic tags are controlled by the signals from the environment that hit the cell's surface. So all the environmental influences hitting the surface of the cell, that is being managed by epigenetics, which controls the reading of the DNA. And this epigenetics is very, very error-ridden, 1 in 50. So you have 5 times 10 to the 1 when compared to 500 million, which is 5 times 10 to the 8th. So you've got a 5 times 10 to the 7th difference in accuracy. So it's obvious, if you are a mathematician, that eliminating the epigenetic problem will cause radical increase in lifespan, and that's what we're after. Control the epigenetics, increase your lifespan. Now, of course, this is just a theory, but if you look at the Wall Street Journal article, you will see that scientists that deliberately took away the tags from cells in organisms found that the lifespan of the organism increased, which shows that the epigenetic tags which control the reading of the DNA are the first step to fighting the prime disease of humans, which is degeneration. So aging can be thought of as the epigenetic disease. So if you look at psychicwarfare.com, again, you will see that damaged cells, the damaged cells, of course, have the epigenetic tags, which are faulty because which cause the cells to die. And these cells then, of course, send off signals to other healthy cells, which by signal cell transduction causes those cells to become ill cells, and tumor cells will send signals out to other cells to enable the tumor cell to metastasize. That means travel around your body and find target locations and then get all the other cells around it to turn into cancer cells. And they're quite efficient at that. And the tumor cell then cuts off the blood flow, and the immune system is then not able to reach those cells. So their cells are able to stop your immune system. And that is how you get old, and that is how you end up being unhealthy and dying from the effects of epigenetics. So epigenetics is the key component of this theory for the rapid onset of aging, which causes humans to die at 70 years old or be decrepit after 70 years old and hang around in 20 years of ill health, which it doesn't need to be. Now, there are lots of startup companies who are trying to produce drugs that kill the ill cells in your body, which are then sending out signals, ligands, to other cells to cause a cascade of degradation in your body. And these drugs are called selenolytics. Now, psychic warfare was created by the Germans, and German scientists went to Russia because they were captured by the Russians in order to build the Russian psychic warfare program, which reached ahead under Andropov and allegedly under Martin Ebon, they were spending $500 million a year on this program. And the Americans had the Montauk project, which was trying to connect people to their radar installation, which didn't go very well. But there has been a lot of research into training psychics, and psychics are someone who has the ability to influence other people or tune in the fifth dimension, which according to Puthoff and other psychics working for the CIA is simply relaxing, letting one's imagination flow into your mind, which is a primitive methodology, but according to them, they had remarkable accuracy. And then all of a sudden went super black ops, and that's why it's hasn't been approached in the mainstream until now, until recently, with psychicwarfare.com and Tim Tony Stark Rifat. So one can see that if there is a capability to influence these little protein receptors on the outside, on the surface, you can massively amplify it, rather like a semiconductor amplifier, and can then create massive changes in the cell by altering the epigenetic programming of reading the DNA. Now, most people won't understand what epigenetics is. They won't understand what signal cell transduction is, because of course it's quite a new science. But as you can see, it gives capability to people who can make minute changes to the protein conformation, the ability to control their own cells for de-aging, and to block off 4G, 5G, which is designed to kill you, and the vaccines and the other toxins in the environment, and the smog and the other rubbish that surrounds you. So you can block that out. And all that pollution is caused by the overpopulation of the planet. And therefore, if you can control the proteins through through active epigenetics, you can create an environment for you to live a very long lifespan and to prosper, while everyone else around you is getting old, mad, and dying. So as one can see, psychic warfare isn't something that is just for the few people who want to control other people to give them cancer, heart attacks, drive them mad, and kill them. It is for anyone who wants to increase their lifespan and anyone who wants to survive in the 5G environment, which is designed to use signal transduction to cause rapid onset disease, dementia, and death in the general population. So one can see that psychic warfare is something which is of great use to few people who want to increase their lifespan to, say, 200, 300, 400, 500 years. If you can control epigenetics, you can live an extraordinarily long time and be highly resistant, if not immune, to 4G, 5G, other toxins and stressors in your environment. Now one can see that the baseline is to change a little signal receptor protein, and with a bit of folding, which of course causes all the rest, is the aim for you, and therefore causes changes in the quantum mechanical structure of the signal receptor. Now, according to quantum mechanics, simple observation will cause changes in a quantum wave function. So if the observer has a little package that is specific to the signal receptor, like so, who wants to change it, they just need minuscule amounts of observation to change it. So all the research done by the CIA into remote viewing to go to distant locations and to sketch out a secret base, which might be thousands of miles away, is simply turned on its head, so that now you're scanning your body. You're thinking of your body's cells, zip, 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 going through your body, modifying the epigenetic the receptors, the proteins, using the epigenetic methodology, and clearing out the rubbish and the toxins and not allowing them to be transmitted throughout your body. So then you get a healed body. So the zip, zip, zip is of course frequency matching, because it is your own body on a big screen, internal screen, and it's simply activating all the little receptors to do what you want, which is hardly difficult because the act of observation changes the quantum wave function of the receptor, which changes the folding. So one can see this was put in book form by David Morehouse in his book called Micro Remote Viewing, and one can see if you do it on yourself and you learn how to do it, you can make yourself younger, fitter, and healthier. Remember, When 100 people learn how to do this, you get the 100th monkey effect. Then the whole population begins to be able to do this. Now the observer in a human is simply not your conscious mind, because your conscious mind has very low processing power, but your subconscious mind has higher processing power, quite a lot higher processing power. But your subconscious mind has been programmed by your parents and your environment as it is set at the age of 5, and your neural network is made by the age of 5. And then you get complete neuronal evolution to build on top of it. So the subconscious mind is built by the age of 5, and your consciousness is built on top of it by neuronal evolution. After the age of 5, and then of course your parents then programmed you to observe within the box which they have set for you, to obey your parents, to love your parents, obey authority figures. So it's quite incredible. As a very young child, your parameters of your subconscious are locked in. So the process is trying to unlock it, break it down, take a Kanger hammer to it, jackhammer, break down that subconscious to be merging your conscious mind with your subconscious mind, and you have an adult brain functioning then instead of man baby. I elaborated a bit there, but back to script. So your subconscious has been programmed by your parents so that you follow authority figures and operate within the nanny state. So when you try and focus your observation on these signal receptors, your subconscious is going, that doesn't work. Should I be doing this? Do I need to ask mommy or daddy for permission? Am I worthy of having this super healthy, super fit, super awesome body? That's your subconscious nagging you. They say, the parents said when you were a small child that you were bad and you needed to be punished. So you got your conscious mind to do what you want to do, like operate on the proteins on the cell, but your subconscious mind, which is full of all this rubbish programming, gets in the way. So one can see every single human is carrying out signal cell transduction on themselves and on other people. How do they do it on other people? Well, of course, they broadcast to other people, and they're affecting other people around them, and the other people they interact with, and they're interacting with, and they're observing. So people influence people naturally every day. So the other people you meet are affecting you because every person you meet has a twisted, corrupt self-consciousness in the man-baby state, saying, I'm not worthy, I must obey authority, love me, love me, love me, and all that crap. Which of course completely blocks out all the conscious mind, which is saying, I want to learn how to do this, and all the positive thinking and observation. And I'll read these remote viewing books, I'm going to do these positive things to have positive impact in my life. But it's blocked by your subconscious because it is overriding your consciousness. So your subconscious is like dragging around a 10-ton block behind you, which is the subconscious, which is of course fixed. So it's not surprising very few people can actually do this psychic technology from the get-go. So Tim's very lucky because he had massive brain trauma at the age of 6. This massive bruising in the brain which wiped out his neural networks. So his 10-ton block vanished. And it took years for him to get his neural network back, which was, of course, then being built in the adult phase of his years of 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And he was no longer fixated on his parents or needing their approval for anything. This, of course, meant that Tim Tony Stark Rifat's subconscious is connected to his consciousness, and not like everyone else in the population, totally divorced from their consciousness. So we get loads and loads of people who talk about epigenetics, and you can make yourself well and cure anything, which is possible. But if you look at the biology of epigenetics, you can switch genes on and off, and you can basically cure anything in your body. You can cure cancer. You can go back to stem cell activity. You can rebuild livers. You can rebuild heart tissue. You can rebuild brain function. But the problem is the observer is in the cage built by their parents, built by their school, built by authority figures, built by their friends, and built by their social interactions. So bang. And this little observer here, your conscious mind, goes in to read a book on epigenetics and the ability to change this, and you go, yes, I'm going to do that. But so you try, but you have all this processing power which is running in your subconscious, conflicting with your conscious effort. So subconscious is like picking up this crystal or this crystal. That's a subconscious activity. Walking, subconscious activity. And you take it all for granted, but those are things that babies can't do because their neural networks aren't made till the age of 5 years of life. But then, of course, you have all the parameters of what can and can't be done, all set in the subconscious. So we can say we have these revolutionary psychiatric programs to clear out your subconscious in half an hour, or in an hour, or in a few hours, zip, and you can see that all of that is fallacious. Because the shamans who wanted to achieve their highest potential, which is way beyond what we're talking about here, which is simply altering your cell biology, the shamans spend decades going into every aspect of their life from birth to present day in order to go through and reprogram their subconscious. So as a scientist and a polymath, which Tim is, he's looking for a quicker way to do it. Now, Tim Tony Stark Rifat doesn't need to do all this reprogramming of the subconscious because his 10-ton block was vanished with his accident when he was 6 years old. So, but for the population, this is something that one would want to do, one would want to achieve. So in order to start, you need to radically edit your subconscious and merge it with your consciousness, which the shamans take decades to do through the process called recollection from babyhood to present day, which is of course something that is too long-winded for modern people. There must be a quicker and better way to do so. And there must be a methodology to completely erase the subconscious and build a new subconscious, merged with your consciousness. Then you can begin the war on aging, because then you can start operating on the membrane and control what is being sent and what is being received to make yourself healthy, young, and fitter. So the war on aging and the reconstruction, elimination of your old subconsciousness and the reconstruction of your new subconsciousness, adult subconsciousness, this was impossible until Tim Tony Stark Rifat made these advances, and now it is totally possible and enables complete control of your epigenetics in order to eliminate tags and use psychic warfare to selectively kill the aging dead cells which are poisoning your body and causing massive cell death by signals they are sending out to the rest of the healthy cells and turn them into ill cells by signal transduction and epigenetics. So, absolutely fascinating topic. We'll be getting more into this. You'll see some links in the description below. Please like and subscribe as well. Share this with your friends and family. And for now, I'm St. Nicholas, and bye for now. And you've been watching supernaturalspirit.org, the home of the Supernatural Spirit Magic Kit and the location to learn everything you need to know about magic, all constructed by the obsessionist Tim Tony Stark Rifat. Learn magic, learn power, learn total freedom with Tim Tony Stark Rifat and his supernatural.org magic school system. Bye for now.